Hello and welcome to our show, FadeIn, presented by the Carnegie Screenwriters. I'm your host, Bob Scott. With us today we have two fellow members of the group, Carnegie Screenwriters, Eric Oveson.
Hello.
And Bob Skwaryk, known affectionately to us as Judge Bob, right? And we'll get to that. Guys, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Eric, let's start with you. Now, you're a newer member of the group.
Yes.
Joined last year, I believe. So you're fairly new to screenwriting?
Yeah, I've just been doing screenwriting seriously for about a year, and it was because I was introduced to some members of the Carnegie Screenwriters group that got me motivated to pursue it more seriously.
So you were interested then? Had you done any writing when you were younger?
A little bit, just dabbled in some short stories, and I had more like concepts and never really finalized them until I got interested in filmmaking, which motivated me to actually put them into script format to make a film.
So you were interested in becoming a filmmaker and needed to learn how to do the script first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're not from Pittsburgh originally, correct?
No, long story. I grew up in northern Minnesota. My hometown is Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
I traveled around the country working on bridges at one point in my life, and I met my wife, who's from Finleyville, Cammie Oveson, and we ended up settling down here. So we've been here for about 18 years.
Great, great. And as I said, joined Carnegie Screenwriters last year. Welcome addition to it. Now, Bob, Judge Bob, and how did you get that name, Judge Bob?
Well, I'm a retired administrative law judge.
Retired
about
judge.
5 years ago. And so that's why they call me Judge Bob. There are a number of Bobs, Roberts in the group, and so every one of us have
this one.
the other
Okay.
Bob. Anyway, that's how they call me Judge Bob.
Also retired military.
Correct. 32 years, 2 days, 2 months and 1 day, with service in Vietnam, Beirut, Lebanon, and Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Yeah. And those experiences have certainly played into some of your screenplays.
Exactly,
scripts.
yeah.
Experiences both as a military veteran and as a judge.
Yes.
And Bob is, like me, one of the original founding members of this group. So 20, 21 years, it's been something like that? It's been a while, yeah.
At least 98, maybe 2000.
Yeah. So we've got the old veteran screenwriter and the young kid. So now, you guys now are working with your students at CCAC, Community College of Allegheny County, South Campus in West Mifflin, as film students.
Correct.
We'll say non-traditional, as you're both a little more mature than the typical student.
That fits.
Yeah, okay. But so you're working on projects there, making films, some of which we'll see some work today. But let's talk about first, before you make a film, obviously you need the script. So Eric, tell us about your script. What's the title?
The title of my short film that I just completed is called No Plastic Flowers, and it was based on a real incident in my life about preparing for a funeral and disagreement between a father and son as they were trying to get ready to go to the cemetery to honor the grandmother who's recently passed away. I had this memory in my head, a concept of how to put this into a story form.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote it down a few times. I had a big pile of notes, and one time, the first person I met in Carnegie Screenwriters was Bob. He invited me to come to the group, and then I started developing it into a story. And as I became aware of the filmmakers in this area and then attended school, I actually seriously put it into the pre-planning process and developed it into a film.
Great. So this is an idea you had for a long time.
Yes.
In your head maybe, and had written some stuff down. Had you originally envisioned it as a film, a screenplay, or perhaps a story?
It was a short story. I used to tell some friends about this incident. We got some laughs out of it. It seems funny looking back. And then actually, this will be part of a longer, like a feature script that I'm working on, where the young man in the story moves on, and he struggles as a teenager growing up, and then he does well in life later on.
Okay. And what did you find to be the biggest difference between, say, writing a story and actually writing a structured screenplay?
Learning the screenplay process, one of the challenges was to figure out how to shoot it all on film and the different sequences that we set up to do the shots. And I guess I've watched a lot of film and TV over the years and never thought about the process of actually doing it, how you go through the beats and how to bring the actors in and out of a scene. So it was a challenge and interesting.
Yeah, definitely is a challenge. Now, Bob, your scripts, and you've written feature-length screenplays,
Yes.
shorts. You have the project you're going to share with us here today. What is your biggest challenge, I think, as a screenwriter?
Having new ideas. Mostly my ideas come from my own personal experiences in combat, and so that's the genre that I like to write in, or as a disabled veteran. And also as a judge, I've written, or I read cases, and it's there's nothing stranger than the truth, I guess, and that's where I get all these weird ideas. And how did you come up with that? Well, it actually happened. Like this little comedy I wrote called Mooshiners, M-O-O Shiners. It dealt with raw milk trade, which is illegal if you cross state lines, and there's a court case on it. And so I developed that as a comedy. And the scene that you will see today is shot as a music video, was the last two scenes of a short film called Xmas. And there's some scenes in there based on a real case out of Polish Hill. And that actually is a condensation from the feature, Last Call, a murder mystery, which I'm familiar with, took place in eastern Pennsylvania. And so they're all interrelated, but a lot of it is not, there's nothing really new or creative on my part. I just kind of like find a story, twist it a little bit.
But you've got the insight of your own experiences. Now, the feature film, Last Call,
Yes.
is actually based on these cases, the murder case, the one particular bar that shows up in there,
Yeah.
plus your combat experiences in Vietnam and Desert Storm, right?
Yeah, it's basically a story of a Desert Storm veteran who's disabled, can't find a job or any kind of work, and he becomes the prime suspect in a murder case of a co-ed, and the police officer who is the chief investigator is a Vietnam vet, and as the investigation goes on, the Vietnam vet cop realizes or thinks that, well, this guy's probably innocent, and he's got to stop the Desert Storm vet from seeking some preemptive revenge on society.
Well, we're often told, write what you know, and you've got a lot to draw on.
Yeah.
So that feature-length script then became the short Xmas with some of the characters and scenes.
Correct.
Which then was distilled into a music video of all things that we're going to see that was a class assignment at CCAC, right?
Yes, I had to do a music video, and so I decided, because the script, Xmas, there's no dialogue in the last two scenes, and it plays over Silent Night, I shot it as a music video, as a class assignment, and I think it worked.
Well, let's find out. We can take a look at it now, huh?
Sure.
It's about 2 minutes, something like that?
2 minutes and 7 seconds with the trailing, because I also made it into a public service announcement for Veteran Crisis Line.
All right. Again, drawing on your own experiences
Yes.
as a veteran, disabled vet, as you said. So let's take a look at it. And now it's from the short called Xmas, X-M-A-S, for Christmas, and also other significance. But the music video for the class is called?
Well, the song itself is silent, or Eternal Silent Night.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Well,
the actual song.
let's watch, shall we?
10-11. Trying to get him to stop.
Well, that was Bob Skwaryk's, Judge Bob's music video, as we talked about the process from a feature to a short to a class assignment for a music video and a PSA. What were your influences for that? It's almost mystical, really.
Yeah, I was highly influenced by the cinematographer. His name is Vittorio Storaro, who is still working. He shot Apocalypse Now and Last Tango in Paris and a whole number of films, and especially one that influenced me. It's called Goya in Bordeaux. It's a Spanish film from 1998, which I saw first at Filmmakers. And the red saturation plays a big part at the beginning of Goya in Bordeaux. And the poster itself is one of Goya's. It's called, from a series of etchings called Disasters of War. Every item in there has some significance. The blocking of that scene comes from the blocking when Goya is painting the Duchesses of Alba, and you can that blocking comes from that movie. The coffee cup, it was my coffee cup in Beirut, Lebanon, with the multinational peacekeeping force in '83 and '84. So everything in there has some significance, at least to me.
And he's shown himself to be a true Renaissance man. Sorry, Renaissance man. And full disclosure, that guy shaving in the beginning looked familiar. So now, Eric.
We know him.
Eric, you also are a military veteran, correct?
Yes. I started out, as soon as I got out of high school, I joined the U.S. Navy Seabees. I served in Battalion 40. I did one enlistment, and I had pretty good experience. I got to see half the world, went to a lot of interesting places. I went from Hawaii all the way over to Europe, and quite a few places in between.
Now, for those who might not know, Seabees, many of us have heard the term, Many of us are old enough to remember the John Wayne movie from World War II.
Yeah.
But what exactly is a CB?
A lot of people have never heard of the CBs. They were developed in a big hurry during World War II. They were the two letters, Construction Battalion, later morphed into their insignia with the actual bumblebee with the tools, the CBs. And what they would do is accompany the Marines primarily on like beach missions in the South Pacific. When they would take over an island, the CBs and the Marines would go in hand and build the infrastructure to come in and help fight the wars.
Fascinating. Now your film, of course, doesn't have that in it, at least
No.
not this one, but No Plastic Flowers, you said, okay?
Yes.
So that was based on a childhood memory of a true experience,
Yes.
and you were able to write it out as a story and then turn it into a script, which now you're able to shoot as part of your class assignment.
Right.
So we'll take a look at that too.
Okay.
All right? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about it to set it up, what we're going to see.
The characters in the story, the father and son, they grew up separated. It's a kind of a broken, dysfunctional family. The father is slightly bipolar. He shows some, like he has some anger issues. And as we find out as the story proceeds, he's actually a pretty good guy. He just has maybe trouble expressing himself. And the son is a troubled teen. He's growing up with maybe a slight learning disorder. And as they proceed with this process of preparing for the funeral, he meets a girl who works in the flower shop that helps him stand up for himself and find his inner strength to stand up to his father.
Sounds great. Well, let's take a look. We're going
Okay,
to
great.
watch Eric Oveson's short film, No Plastic Flowers.
Hi, you called about the custom bouquet?
Yeah, my name is Pierce. They're for my grandmother. Oh, they look really good so far.
I'm sorry to hear of your loss. I have experience in making these. You said you wanted to do this right? These are daisies. They mean farewell.
And these are $6.
I don't want $6 cheap plastic flowers. I want something nice to honor my grandmother.
And since when do we care so much about flowers? Did you ever hang out with guys?
These are not what he ordered. These
Those
are white oak flowers
for a wandering soul like hers.
Yeah. Probably wandering over to her girlfriend's house. All right, look, that's it. We're getting these, no more. There, $6, let's get going. Don't make me wait. No plastic flowers. Who would have guessed?
No plastic flowers. Or they'll
They'll
be
be
thrown
thrown
out!
Hey, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling better.
Good.
Why don't we, go to the car and go? You know, take me back to the flower shop.
Oh, why? So we can see that pretty girl who works there? I think she likes you. Come on, man, let's go.
All right, that was the film No Plastic Flowers by Eric Oveson. Wrote it, directed it, and Bob, you were a cinematographer on that one?
I was
Is
the
that right?
Director of photography.
Director
yes.
of photography. And you work crew on his film, correct?
Yes, on Silent Night.
Yeah, so you know, that's the great thing about that program. You get to experience all aspects of it. Now, let me ask you, and this will go to both of you. We'll start with you, Eric.
Okay.
You wrote the script. You had to prepare it, shooting script, whatever, picking out the scenes, you know, maybe a shot sequence, and shoot it. Did you have to change the script at all as you progressed? Excuse me, maybe whether it was technical reasons or your vision changed a little as you were doing it, were there changes made to the script?
Yes, we changed it a lot over time. We kept doing revisions, and it was good to go through the process. We would read it in class. Students could critique one another and come up with ideas, and gives you a whole new way of looking at it. And when we prepared the shot list, the camera work, and looking at it from an overhead view, it changed it again. And then sometimes you would even go back and rewrite lines. Maybe it would fit better if she came from this way and said something and he moved over here. So it was really a process of developing it over time, where when we started out, I thought I had a script, let's go shoot it.
Yeah.
And we found out after a month of reworking it, it got a lot better as we refined it.
Now, did you get suggestions maybe from any of the actors? Or-
Yes, and they brought some new perspectives even on the day of filming, on how to do things better and change things.
And that's one thing about a screenplay versus maybe writing a novel or a story or a poem. It's a collaborative effort. It's a blueprint. So you have to be willing to adapt and change. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely.
Bob, did you have to make any changes in yours for the filming or during the process?
Well, yeah, because of the limitations of time and space and locations, the script itself is a lot grittier, but because we filmed your scene in the staff locker room in very limited time, and they were kicking us out, I couldn't take a lot of extra shots to use as inserts. And we filmed the bedroom scene in the daytime, and we had a limited period of time from, I think it was 10 to 6, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Well, they didn't unlock the house till 11, and so that there were a lot of time constraints. And then because we shot in the daytime and trying to make it look at night, and so we had to spend a lot of time darkening, blacking out all the windows and the sunlight so that we can get the right look, the atmosphere. And because it was such a small room, and we were shooting on the Blackmagic Mini Ursa Pro, which is it's a smaller camera but still pretty big for that room. And I didn't have a B camera of a smaller one. Couldn't use the dolly shots that I wanted to use. A lot of different things. So it is what it is, you know.
Well, you've learned, both of you learned, I'm sure, a lot about camera work, DP.
Yes.
You have a DP reel that you actually put together,
Yes.
isn't that correct?
Yeah, and it's a lot of the different work that you'll see from mine, but there's one, it's a rack focus. So rack focus is that the camera, the depth of field is that you focus in on an object very close to the camera, which is, in this case, my coffee cup, which is a sea ration can with a 50 caliber cartridge wired together, and that's mine from Beirut. And then it rack focuses to another object with the American flag. It's upside down, showing American distress over crossed arm canes, which for Marines are the crossed rifles insignia. So I think most people who see that find it very dramatic, and that's one of my favorite shots.
Well, why don't we take a look at your DP reel?
Yes.
And we can see what we're talking about here. How's that sound? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. That sounds like a plan. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, you're going to have your own reel with all the work you guys are doing, and And it's, like I said, it's a collaborative effort, so a lot of people
Yes.
are behind the scenes on that. Now, one guy, I will mention his name, Kevin Hana. Kevin is a member of Carnegie Screenwriters, worked
was-
on both your shoots, right?
Yeah, he was my assistant director on my
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, he worked with me on all of my shoots. He's the hardest working independent filmmaker in Pittsburgh. Great
And
guy.
you'll see his name on credits for everything. He's done a lot of work with us on our projects, and but yeah, great guy. And PJ, we'll throw out another name, PJ Gaynard,
Yes.
who runs the
Film
the
program.
film program at CCAC.
Yes.
And what's interesting now is, well, I know that you're up around me there, so you're a little younger yet, but mature people can take not only filmmaking classes, acting, what have you.
Oh, absolutely.
And you get a nice deal.
Tuition waiver is for senior citizens over 65 at CCAC. So there's 2 courses you can take per semester for free.
Yeah.
Other than tuition. I mean, you have to pay like lab fees.
So one of the benefits of getting older, huh?
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for being here today. It's really been a pleasure talking to you and kind of looking at your growth as writers and filmmakers and behind the scenes and things. We are a screenwriting group, but many of us are filmmakers, work with filmmakers, and ultimately we all want to see our scripts on the screen, big screen, little screen. So it's nice to get a look at what's behind the scenes there and what goes into it, because it is a group effort. It takes a village to make a film.
Yeah, we're
It's-
going to be seeing yours soon, aren't we?
Yes,
Oh.
yes, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's another
Yeah,
episode.
Yeah, so. But,
It was interesting process to see what everybody brought
Yeah.
to the project. I was so pleased with the different people that came in, and you talked about we have some older people, some younger people, and everybody brought something to the project to improve it and refine it. And that was great.
That's why it's
I wanna
always
thank 'em all.
great to watch the credits on a film, whether you're watching
Yeah.
a short independent film or you're sitting in a theater watching one of the big Hollywood blockbusters, and just watch the credits and see all those names and all those jobs and all that talent, not just on camera, but behind the scenes.
It's
So-
amazing what all goes into it. Now, after going through this, I have much more appreciation for what everyone does.
Do you think it helps you as a writer to be involved in that process, the filmmaking process?
Yeah,
For-
absolutely.
For me, I write what I know I can film. So yes, definitely. There's going to be no car crashes, jumping out of airplanes. I write so that I can film it and keeping it simple.
Good. Well, gentlemen, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Judge
you.
Bob Skwaryk, Eric Oveson, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for tuning in to Fade In here on PCTV, brought to you by the Carnegie Screenwriters. This is Bob Scott signing off, and do something creative. Doesn't matter what it is, just get out there and create something and have fun. Until the next time, may the muse be with you.